Hi, my name is Seane Corn, and I am a yoga teacher. I am an activist. I am an animal rights defender, as well as a vegan. And my 6 non-negotiables for wellness would be yoga, meditation, prayer, diet, sleep, and therapy, or some form of spiritual mentorship, even if that includes reading books. If I don't do these 6 non-negotiables, I know that just because of the familiarity of tension, that in conflict or in crisis, I will without a doubt become reactive. I will say or do something that will actually create more conflict for myself and for the other person, making a situation escalate in a way that's unnecessary because I'm not actually dealing with some of my own suppressed emotions. And so I have to commit to what works for me. Now, your non-negotiables might be very different. I know that yoga is essential. Moving energy, stretching my body, releasing tension, discharging any of that suppressed energy is what's going to help me to resource and stay grounded. Not only does it have a physiological benefit, of course, in terms of strength and flexibility and purification, but it's going to have an impact on my central nervous system, which is going to help me to regulate and stay grounded. Meditation also is going to allow me to connect with source, get quiet and still the fluctuations that are within my mind. It'll help to balance out some of that anxiety or hyperstimulation that we all experience. So taking time to meditate every day, whether it's 5 minutes, 1 minute, just closing your eyes, getting quiet, getting grounded, finding an environment that is nurturing and supportive if it's possible, and going inward. Prayer, because of my connection to spirit, it's really important to take a moment and acknowledge something that is within myself and beyond who I am, which is love. And so I pray, and in my prayers, I will ask for clarity. I will ask for guidance. I will ask for to be released from limited beliefs or perspectives that aren't really serving my highest potential. And also within those prayers, I'm going to take time for gratitude and also remember what's really important and give thanks for the tools that I have, for the air that I breathe, for all the resources I have access to the family that I'm in, and also for all the challenges that I've had, because I recognize that within those challenges, they have led to wisdom and to insight that couldn't have happened unless those challenges were present in my life. So I also want to acknowledge that. So really within prayer, you ask the question. In meditation, you receive the answer. Diet. Diet is so essential because everything that you take in is going to have an impact on your cellular tissue, both on a physiological level, also on an emotional level. So the health of every cell is dependent upon 3 things: the quality of the nutrient that it takes in, its ability to assimilate the nutrients, and then the effectiveness of its waste removal. And so the health of our body is going to be really determined by the food and the beverages that we eat, that we drink, and also the air that we breathe. And so being mindful about the quality of the food that you're taking in, that it's alive, that it's filled with prana, life force, and that food is nurturing your system, and being conscious of the ways in which perhaps you might use food as a way to numb out your feelings or to anesthetize, or use certain kinds of foods to amp you up, to get you stimulated, like sugar or caffeine, or alcohol to take you down. And so you want to think about the food that you're taking into your body as being a part of your wellness regimen, so that it is meant to nourish every aspect of you. Now, with that said, you can say the same thing about your emotional life, because the health of the cell is also dependent upon the quality of the emotion you take in, the ability to also assimilate those emotions, and then your ability to release it, to discharge those emotions. So you want to think in terms of your emotional body and your physical body really being one and the same, and what you want to take in has to support both for optimal health and wellness. Let's see, sleep. Now, sleep is, I don't need that much sleep, but I need the amount of sleep that is necessary for my body. And so for me, it's 6.5 hours, 7 hours, tops if that feels great. But I want to make sure I get that sleep, and that sleep is really mindful, and I'm not going to have computers next to my bed or cell phones next to my bed. If there's a TV in your room, cover it up. Things like that, so that you're trying to dial down the amount of electromagnetic energy that's in the room that can really disturb your sleep patterns. For some people, they only need 5 hours of sleep. Some people need 9, 10. You want to find out what's right for you, but you want to make sure you give yourself that time and create an environment in your bedroom that really supports that, because your body needs to be able to replenish. Your organs need to be able to dial down, and your subconscious needs that time to work out its own little life force. And if you don't give it that time and space, and you feel depleted, it impacts your communication, it impacts your creativity, it impacts not only the way in which you see the world, but also the way in which the world perceives you. It's going to affect your sexuality, so it really will have a big impact on your well-being, so sleep is essential. Now, therapy to me is really important, and I recognize that for a lot of you listening, that might be something it's expensive. It might be a resource that's not appropriate for you in your life right now because of the expense. But why I believe that that's really important, it would be like let's say you wanted to learn headstand. You would hire someone like myself who is trained, who has skills, who would be able to look at your body with a discerning eye and figure out what are the techniques that are going to be able to safely move you in that direction and empower you in time to be able to accomplish certain skills without injury. And there would be really no hesitation wanting to hire someone with that skill. To me, therapy is the same thing. Very often what happens is situations come up in our life and we try to analyze or figure it out ourselves, but often we don't have the language, the articulation, the ability to the ability to understand or perceive beyond our own perception, to have someone else bear witness and help us to find a deeper level of information or language to heighten our awareness of a situation is really a gift. You would trust their skill and their ability to have insight that we might not yet have, and usher us into that broader understanding. Also, very often on the spiritual path, we get fed information, and it's really easy to begin to use that language to actually lie to ourselves or to bypass so that we don't actually feel. Being in therapy really puts you in a situation where you're confronted with your vulnerability, and you have to navigate these uncomfortable feelings without bypass, which is ultimately the most liberating thing that you can do for yourself. Now, if you don't have access to therapy, of course, there's life coaches, which are usually less expensive, but there's also books, there's online courses, there's all sorts of different ways in which you can get insight and input that might help you to widen your perspective around your emotional and your psychological understanding. So those are my 6 non-negotiables for myself. The 7th one that I'm awful at, but I highly recommend, it's something I'm trying to bring more of in my life because I really do understand the importance of it in terms of wellness, and that would be play. For some, play is effortless, but for someone like myself, I'm a hardworking woman. My priorities are often around my family, my relationships, my work, my career, and play has always felt to me kind of secondary and inconsequential, but I recognize now the importance of adding that kind of impulsive, spontaneous, fun energy into your life, into your relationships, and broadening your perspective in that way and seeing the world through that more joyful lens. So it's one I'm working on. I'm still awful at it. I play while thinking about, what I have to do next. So that's my own challenge in terms of wellness, is to commit to having more play in my life. So those are my non-negotiables. And like I said, it works for me. There's probably more. For you, there could be less. But it's really important that you commit to something every single day. I remind myself every day. I actually have notes around my house. Let's say like yoga, for example, if I'm trying to talk myself out of it, I have notes that just say, you will feel better if you ... Because I know I will feel better if I do yoga. I will feel better if I do meditation. I will feel better if I pray. I will feel better if I eat well. I will feel better if I sleep. I will feel better if I process and work on my emotional body. But it's easy to forget that because tension is a familiar sensation. Shutdown is also a familiar sensation. And we tend to move towards what's familiar rather than towards what might be new. And unfortunately for a lot of us, wellness is a sensation that might feel still in our bodies unfamiliar. So maybe put up your own notes knowing that you will feel better if you do ...